Hi, today's topic is what are my options after a failed marriage? Well, friends, welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm your host, John Ting. I'm here to answer any of your questions as best as I can, and here to prevent any of those problems if possible. Now, folks, of course, if you're new to the channel, welcome, and you're welcome to post questions. But also, we do offer free. I need to drink some water. Free 15 minutes consultation. It's not automatic though. You have to take a quiz to see if you qualify for it, because sometimes um, we can tell when people have certain very in-depth questions, which will require a paid consultation with more than 15 minutes. So, folks, I hope you understand that, because lately some folks have been taking a bit more than 15 minutes. Anyways, because really 15 minutes is to help point you in the right direction. Maybe even we can offer a free guide, email with resource links, and so you might not even need to talk to one of our attorneys, but we're happy to help you. And by the way, that free quiz is available on our website, greencardguys.com. It should be in that first section, so hopefully you can find it, or on the contact us page. But for right now, after you fill out that form, you can self-schedule. So because we run a safe time for you, really, at the end of the day. But our team will reach out, our cares team will reach out to you to see if ask for more information, to see if we can help you, even if we need a consultation or not. Now, folks, let's see here. Again, today's topic is what are your options after failed marriage? Now, of course, the most common one people talk about is VAWA, but I do want to offer other options. But we'll talk about VAWA in a second. But the other options are similar to what I discussed yesterday. Is that because failed marriage doesn't necessarily mean that you were abused physically or emotionally. There could have been so many other things that happened. For example, just didn't get along anymore. Like, let's say you came in on a fiance visa, and you did get married. Try to get along, or I mean, assumed you would get along, and maybe a couple years pass. You already got your conditional resident card, or maybe you didn't get a conditional resident card at all, or a permanent resident card. There's so many different pathways, but what I'm trying to share with you, as I do every day, is that there are options. Okay, I don't want you to feel stuck. Of course, you might not be eligible for it, but you would need to talk to your own lawyer. Um, of course, if you have some kind of so how it works is that if you currently have a lawyer with your spouse, and there is some kind of abuse, or you want to file a different application. Well, yeah, if there's abuse, then it's clear cut. It's what we call conflict of interest. You will need to hire, or at least consult with, a different lawyer. Okay, that's my suggestion, because you don't want to put that current lawyer in a difficult position, because you're sharing confidential information, of course. So just keep that in mind, in case you're wondering, why does that current lawyer don't want to talk to me anymore. That's the reason why. Conflict of interest. Okay. So, anyways, unless of course the other spouse signs a waiver, but that just wouldn't make sense in this situation. Um, I see we have a lot of comments, but I just want to share the other options. So, yesterday we talked about like E2 as an example for people who've already filed an asylum application, but that could also be an option for those who have a failed marriage. Because, but the thing is, the key thing is failure to maintain status. Okay. So if you have, let's say you intended to file the petition, or you did file it, but then the marriage fell apart while it's processing, then of course you can't go to the interview and continue that case with your spouse, because you're separated. Whether you're physically separated or not, or divorced, you can't continue on that. Now, if you have conditional resident status, you can file a 751 application based on waiver, based on divorce. Hot tip, folks, you don't need to have the actual divorce order to file the application based on divorce. Okay, some people think that, and then because some people um, make that bad assumption, people wait to file. But in some states in America, divorce can take a long time. In Texas, 2 months from start to finish. That's the fastest it can happen. Um, I don't know what it is, but in California, apparently you have to have like, I think I'm not in California. I'm not a lawyer in California, but I think you have to like a 1 year of legal separation before you can file. That's what I've heard. Word on the street, the legal street. But in Texas, we make it easier. So, anyways, don't let these like legal information be a stumbling block for you. Consult with a lawyer because anything you find online, even social media, like anything I say, you need to vet it, right? Because and that's why I like to share information, the actual links, and that's why I usually share in the description box or in a free guide, so that there's proof behind it, right? And sometimes there's not always proof right on the line, black and white. Let's see here. So if you're someone like but if you're in a situation, so this video is really for folks who have not received the conditional residence status or the permanent resident status. These are folks that have maybe about to file the petition with their spouse, or it already filed and it's still processing, but then the marriage didn't work out for whatever reason. Doesn't matter the reason. So the obvious ones are like the U visa or VAWA if there was some kind of abuse. Whether or not you call police for the VAWA, VAWA does not require police report, but U visa does require a form signed, an immigration form signed by a law enforcement agency, personnel, a district attorney, or a judge, criminal court judge. Now, here's the thing. The other options, those are I don't want to say that's obvious. Those are the ones that most lawyers talk about all the time. And because those are the ones you don't have to leave America. But if that's not available to you, if you're not eligible for that, you need to know what else is available, right? So that could be E2 if you want to start a business. We call that investor visa. You don't have to have like a black and white and minimum investment amount. Now, of course, if you're saying, "Hey, I only got 20,000, can I do it?" Probably not. I wouldn't advise doing it. That you'd be probably wasting more money to the government and also to your lawyer, whoever you decide to hire. We have had cases where you can get it approved for 50,000. Just giving a range here, but what we normally suggest is at least 100,000 US dollars for investment. You need to have a business plan. Now, if you're the type that don't not comfortable writing your own business plan, there are vendors that do that. We don't do that in house because we're an immigration law firm, so that's a difference there. What else? So ultimately, you would need to leave the country though for your visa interview, okay, to pick up the stamp. Now, you would know if you're approved for this application beforehand, okay? The fastest it can happen is 15 business days by USCIS. And let's say it's approved after that. Then you can file application DS 160 with State Department for the visa interview. Now, of course, if you have not filed for asylum, then you can go back to your home country for the interview. And so that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, if you filed for asylum, you don't want to go to your home country for the interview. You have to pick a different country. So here's a deal on that. So I see some of y'all folks have joined. Welcome. Again, happy to answer any questions if I can. And just post in the comments here. Let's see. I see some questions on Instagram. YouTube. So I'll get to that very, very soon. Appreciate it. So again, if you're just joining live now, you may not have known this. We do offer free 15 minutes preliminary discussion. You got to take a quiz on our website so we can help pre-qualify you. It's kind of like, applying for a loan in America. There's a pre-qualification process. But if you apply for a loan, you know how freaking long that takes. We make it shorter, usually 24 hours within the next business day, if not the same day. So we know that timing is important for immigration cases. Some of y'all have deadlines, so we try our best. Now, of course, if you have less than a week, and you have a current lawyer, I really hope that your current lawyer can help you. But if you come to us and it's less than a week to your deadline, then we might not be able to help you. Just FYI, just because of timing. We really do try our best to file cases that are new, like fresh cases. within 30 days if you pick the max plan. We do offer 3 different plans as a member of a law firm. So you know how fast, how timely we will file your application: 30, 60, or 90 days, depending what you pick. If it's more business related, it's usually 45 days or employment related. All right. So the other options, okay, it doesn't have to be um, VAWA. It doesn't have to be U visa. It doesn't have to be E2 visa for a business owner, investor. It can also be for O1. There's so many visas out there. You just want to, the key thing here is that you want to make sure that you have not failed to maintain status. Okay. Because if it's 180 days or more, between 180 days to 365, and then you leave the country, okay, then it's going to be 3-year restriction, a 3-year bar from coming back in. If it's more than 365 days, appreciate the hearts and the likes. I really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm to somehow spread the video to others. But that tells me you enjoy the way we share content. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we go straight to the point. And at least I try to, unless I go on another tangent. Any of my tangents, by the way, are hot tips. Okay. Let's see here. Failure to maintain status, because if you you would have to maintain it for employment case, because if you have a company you want to sponsor you, like, hey, finally got a job that agrees to sponsor, because some HR departments ask us a lot of questions because they don't understand, and that's completely cool. We're happy to share info. We actually have a series of videos, short videos for HR, because we know they don't have time, or your boss. They're usually like less than a minute just to quickly explain it. So if you're interested in that, let us know and we can send it to your employer or HR point of contact to save them time, because I might not even have time to speak with us in consultation. Let's see here. Laddie, I'll get to your question soon. But yeah, failed to maintain status. If that happens, which is most likely the scenario, if you filed a case based on marriage and it didn't work out, you need to have a qualifying relative. Now, everyone talks about qualifying relative is for waiver purposes. It's a spouse or a parent who's a U.S. citizen or resident of America. Now, of course, if you have a failed marriage situation, then it wouldn't be your spouse. But let's say you get married to someone else later on, then you could go that way, right? That's the obvious thing. But it depends, because maybe you're like some people call and say, yeah, I got a new spouse. The first one failed, the marriage, it didn't work out, but I don't want to file paperwork through my new spouse. I can understand that, because you don't want to be tied down to that person in that sense. But then you get sponsored by someone else. But you still have that situation of failure to maintain status, because you don't have a valid non-immigrant visa. So if that's the situation, you at least would have, like, your company wants to sponsor you, like in March is a registration period. For usually first week of March, registration for H-1B, which requires advanced degree. But if you're like the unskilled worker where you did not need, your job posting, job description does not require a degree. Not to say your job is not essential or anything or important, but that's not what it means. It's more about whether it needs a degree or not. So anyway, that's coming up in March. You don't want to miss that, because only one time a year. So if you have any questions about that, we'll talk more. We'll probably talk about a video on that next week. And let's see here. Rosemary, I see that you sent a request to join a live, but I don't think you meant to do that. Some of y'all do that on accident. Okay, let me get to, so the main thing again. So if you have a company sponsor you for non-immigrant status or a resident status, like what we call EB, you still need to file a waiver, okay, for the failure to maintain status. All right. That's very, very important. And then eventually you need to go abroad to have the visa interview to get that legal status, okay? Either the visa itself or to be approved for the residency, okay? This is a case-by-case situation. So a lot of y'all that are joining might have a different factual situation, but because this video is specific to what I'm sharing right now, today, this live show. So let me get to the questions. Okay, that was really the gist of what I wanted to share. Laddie, I see if you file for a VAWA petition on it and it get denied, I think is what you meant to say, and it got denied, do they normally send you a letter to removal letter? Yes, USCIS has authority to refer your case to immigration court that we call EOIR, Executive Office of Immigration Court or Review, Immigration Review. But you might not receive it, meaning they might not refer your case to immigration court at all, but they do have the authority to do that. So, with that being said, Laddie, you want to make sure that if you change your address, that you update USCIS. Okay, there's a form online that you can do that. We call it AR11. Yeah, I think AR11 with USCIS. Now you might think, why would I want to update USCIS? That's your choice. But updating USCIS, now if for some reason they do refer your case to immigration court and you move, that they're going to say it's your fault for not updating them because they couldn't mail it to your correct address. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right. And the thing is, because if you don't show up to court because you didn't know about it, because someone didn't update the address, they're going to hold it against you and you could have had a chance and they're going to order you removed automatically. Right. So when you actually have that court date. Now, the other way to check is if you have an A number, you can check the automated website. We're going to drop that link down below after the show so you know where to go for the automated court date. It's tech, but it's not always perfect, but it does a pretty good job. You just enter your A number on there. Okay, it's 8 or 9 digits. Now, the other thing is you might, Laddie, if you file VAWA, you don't want to just quickly give up. Okay, I'm not saying that you are, because if if you have a case in court, you could possibly file for something called VAWA cancellation of removal. And the legal requirements are less than something called cancellation of removal. It's a little bit different. So you don't have to show that you have to be here for 10 years. But if you need a one-on-one about that, a consultation with one of our attorneys to make sure you qualify for something like that, then let us know. Okay. I think something like this scenario, Laddie, you want to be proactive for sure. And that's exactly what you're doing by asking that question. Let's try not to cough in the mic. I get a little excited about sharing useful information. Okay, Crimson on YouTube. Rosemary, what about pending asylum? I'll get to that soon. But Crimson, you asked a question earlier. Yeah, you know all of them. It's U visa that needs police support. It's viable within 2 years of PR. Exactly. Yeah, not everyone knows that, but that's why I'm sharing. 765V, a spouse of H1B, no police support. Yes, thanks for sharing those. That is correct. Your other questions is an asylum and anchor mom for defense. For removal defense, if you have kids, okay. Crimson, you said Safe Horizon nonprofit. I think I'm familiar with that. That's in New York. Told me just to file business via the $1 million one. Yeah, that's the thing. You're going to a nonprofit. They're not going to know more about the business type options. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, don't try not to give them a hard time. They're nonprofit. They're even private law firms. We have certain capacity. It's not like we have a deep team of 100 lawyers to help you. You know what I mean? But it just depends who you're asking, right? So let's see what you did. Your next comment is it took 2 years for your temporary maintenance, I guess, was approved. I guess your temporary application on a higher rent. I don't know if you have a question, Crimson, but if you actually have a question, let me know. Okay, but thank you for sharing. Yep. Sounds like you talked to a lot of people, Crimson. Appreciate you sharing that. We don't know everyone else's situation, so I'm just sharing general information. Sado, your question is any chance for 221G process for 2023? I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you doing, Sado? Um, I'm not sure what you mean by any chance. There is opportunity. What you need to do when you receive a 221G notice, if you're abroad outside America, you already had an interview, visa interview, and they gave you this, letter in person or by email saying you need to give us like XYZ ABC document, and you probably provided them already, probably the same day or the next day. That's often the case for everyone we've talked to. But the thing is that how long it will take. Okay, I see your next comment, Sato. Any change in 23, you need to change it. Yeah, you definitely need to take action, Sato, or anyone else in this situation. If you're stuck abroad and the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. Consular Embassy has put on the ceac.state.gov website visa refusal or 221G. These days are most likely you've seen putting visa refusal for everything. Doesn't matter if it's 221G or not, they've included it all. So it can be confusing. It doesn't necessarily mean that your case is denied. They don't use that phrase probably on purpose because they want to freaking confuse people. Um, and you need to change it. So the action, Sato, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, is is to file a lawsuit, okay, against your embassy or consulate. Sorry about that. I need to drink some water. I need to get my water bottle close to me. Um, you need to take action on it. Of course, you need to consult with a lawyer or be happy to chat with you. You got to go take a quiz for the free, to see if you qualify for a free consultation, 15 minutes, greencardguys.com. Take action, fill it out as soon as possible because we're typically booked out 2 weeks out, okay? Even into January. And a lot of y'all need solutions more timely. My one thing I request, because some of y'all find us on social media, is that, yeah, we do have 3 membership plans, but we really try our best to follow it. We do with USCIS when we file something proactively, right? Like a new case, for example, or a request for evidence situation, or even if you receive a notice of intent to deny. We're very intentional about that in terms of we can do it on ourselves, right? But when it comes to mandamus lawsuits, we have our max plan is 72 hours. Okay, so basically 3 days. Pro plan is 7 days, business days, or the up to 30 days for a light plan. I'm very limited in where I have certification in which court I can file. It's in all courts of Texas, Colorado, Arizona, and DC. Okay, I have colleagues in some states, not all states. We're going to work that up, have that network. But sometimes people go out of town, vacation, especially in the holidays, they might not get that request in. So some of y'all are very, very, very fine tuned to our plan deadline. I get it. Okay. But we need to allow some flexibility. Okay. Because in some state, we prefer not to file in DC court because that's a catch all court, meaning especially if you're not living in America and you file like a E2 application or a non-immigrant visa and you're not in the US, then that means you don't have a US address. But if you have a business address in America, then we could try to use that to file in that state or that district, what we call jurisdiction, the region, okay? But we've tried to avoid DC because they've been trying to push cases out of DC so that the other courts can handle it. So really try to avoid it. And plus, I've heard that some attorneys didn't take the proper action, so it rubbed the U.S. attorneys the wrong way in D.C. So that's why it's better to really just avoid D.C. and file in another state. Okay. So anyway, I say that because it takes time to make sure that that other attorney, the co-counsel, and we want to be respectful of their time, but we work together. We have a good network in terms of that they'll file it usually within a couple of days. But the thing is getting a hold of them, right? Because maybe they're on vacation or something, or they're working on their own cases. So please be mindful that we're going to do a better job of notifying you in advance that we're in process of doing that. So apologies if we didn't inform you of that ahead of time. But yeah, we're very intentional about timing to file for any case. COVID fashion style. I see you got a question. You have a strong asylum case and you found an employer, a religious NGO, which and would like to sponsor you for R1. Okay, can I do both or just be saving? Can I just pick one? Okay, so because you filed for asylum, you have a pending asylum application. You still would have that issue with failure to maintain status. You can file the application for R1 visa in the US, but eventually to pick up the visa, you would have to leave. So depending on when you file the application, COVID fashion style, you might not have accrued what we call unlawful presence. So if you filed it within 6 months, assuming let's say you're here on a visitor visa and your authorized stay was 6 months. So if you filed it before you started, overstay period, then that's more for sure you didn't fail to maintain status because I'm sorry, you didn't accrue unlawful presence. Unlawful presence is different than failure to maintain status. Failure to maintain status comes in an issue more so when you're filing for residency 485. Okay. So if you don't plan to travel, then it's not necessary to go to the consular embassy to pick up the visa necessarily. But it is important later on when you want to travel outside America or you want to apply for residency, right? Because you need to basically reset the entry, right? So just it's a lot to share in a live show like this, but you have to know one thing is unlawful presence, second thing is failure to maintain status, and it depends what strategy you want to take. But if you have a strong asylum case, it doesn't mean that you cannot file for religious visa, especially if you have a sponsor ready to go, ready to sponsor you. But the thing is that you need to know, right, the risk for the other situation on the back end toward a later stage when you want to pick up the visa. All right. So what else to share with you? But if for some reason for the folks like COVID fashion style, maybe if you had a strong asylum case, I don't want to burst your bubble. You might know already the U.S. standard for asylum cases is very high. I mentioned yesterday on the show that we have a colleague named Brian Manning. He does great work. He only focuses on asylum cases. So if you want, even if you have a lawyer, you haven't been able to get in touch with them, or they haven't called you back, and you have an interview coming up soon, you need to have a lawyer to prepare you. So again, Brian Manning is just one of many lawyers. You need to do your own due diligence to make sure you're comfortable. And no lawyer can guarantee the outcome of your case. What we can do at Ting Law Group is guarantee quality control and the timing to file, okay? And that we're going to share knowledge with you every step of the way, okay? Especially, of course, if you email us, we'll contact you back. I mean, that's the least that y'all can ask for, right? Some people don't do that. So hopefully that gave you some kind of information there, COVID fashion. VAWA cancellation removal, Crimson. I don't know what your question marks mean. It's discretionary, so you got to ask a more specific question, Crimson. Let's see here. And yeah, because I'm not going to go in this fishing expedition on different strategies if that's not even your own situation. Okay. But yeah, VAWA cancellation removal would have a lower standard. Okay. In terms of that. But I've even had a case, I cannot guarantee future outcomes in that sense, but I even had a case in court that, I wouldn't say I had a long list. We probably had about 4 people on the witness list. We went through at least one witness testimony, and the judge said, let's go to the chambers, because it's already been I think 2 hours at this point. We already had the client testify, the foreign national, and anytime usually, well, it could go 2 ways. When the judge says, let's go to chambers, that means their office. Of course, tone means everything, but I had a pretty good idea it was going to be a good result. Basically, he said he believes everything. The client's credible. The witness is credible. He just asked the government attorney to talk to the other witnesses, off the record, basically, just to verify some things, and he approved the case. So, but sometimes it's not like that, right? So if you hear, but sometimes we hear, let's go to the chambers, then that, that tone obviously means it's not going to be good. But so it just depends. Sometimes you don't have to go through the whole trial, even for whether it's vowel cancellation removal or something that's not vowel cancellation removal. So, anyways, hopefully that helps, folks. Let's see, we're headed to the 30-minute mark. I'd love to continue going on. I know some of y'all have questions. I see that some of y'all have tried to tag a couple other folks. I greatly appreciate it. What you can do is, if you want to share a video, because I'm about to hop off, is we usually try to save these videos, especially on Instagram Live. It's saved automatically on YouTube and Facebook, but at least there is an option to click the share button to someone you know, or bookmark it and share it later. If you know someone has a immigration related question, we're happy to point them in the right direction. Okay, folks. But yeah, I just also want to share, if you're new to our channel, you might not know this, we do offer a free guide. Okay, check it out right there. Okay, I can only share it on YouTube and Facebook, but we have several different options, free guides. It has answers to common questions with an estimated step-by-step. Okay, and of course has our core values, what we're about. You want to make sure you hire a lawyer that cares about you, okay, and solves your immigration problem and help prevent it from happening in the first place. So check that out on our website, greencardguys.com. Okay, folks. So greatly appreciate it. And until next time,